This is the Amp Hour Podcast. Released October 7th, 2018. Episode 410. Secret Buzzer Handshake.
Welcome to the Amp Hour. I'm Dave Jones from the EEV blog.
And I'm Chris Gamble of Contextual Electronics.
Electronics, you had a drop out there.
Oh, no.
Well, you did at my end, wouldn't be at your end, but these pesky interwebs.
I was going to say, it could be my cold, too. My voice is dropping out because of, the usual conference flu type stuff. You go to a conference, you get a sickness, so... That's fun.
It's like going to it's like adult preschool, is it?
It's like, yeah, exactly. You meet new people, you have some cookies, maybe some juice.
Right. A badge.
Yeah, exactly. You get a goodie bag. Yeah, it's great. And after all that, then you come home sick and you get everybody else sick. So
nice.
Yeah, it's been great. So, what are you going to do? I'm still going to more conferences, so...
What conference was this?
This was the Open Hardware Summit.
Open Hardware Summit.
Oh, and actually, that did not even make the list. I should have put that on there. There is a new, there's like a new learning guide for if you want to certify your stuff as open source hardware. So that was a new thing that they launched.
Oh,
so,
okay. What's in the learning guide?
Ashwa.org.
I'm sure they
basically,
still...
it's good stuff, too. It's like,
right.
There's like different types of licenses for different things.
Of course.
And you might want to license your hardware different than your documentation.
Right.
And so I thought that was a great idea because there's just so many out there.
Are they going almost down, but they'll never go as far as to take up my suggested letter-based, Creative Commons space. They didn't go that far. But they're kind of...
No, but...
I
they
thought
definitely
it was
broke
like,
it out.
Right, they broke
so
it out.
Good.
Okay, right.
Yeah,
so
I think that's smart, though.
Okay,
yeah.
Chink in the armor is starting to...
Yes.
Right.
Yes, Dave. You're wearing them down by lobbing suggestions from 10,000 miles.
Right.
Good job. Good job, buddy. Good job.
No worries. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, it was a good conference, though. It's the reason I always go to that is a lot of good people doing interesting things.
Is it still as big as what it used to be? Bigger?
It was never that big. I think it was probably three.
Right. But we hyped it
people.
more. I guess that's the difference back when it first started.
Yeah, I think
we
that's
sort of,
it.
yeah.
Yep.
It's like a big deal at the time. Oh, what? There's a conference for open source hardware? This must be a real thing,
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, so it was good though, and it's weird to have some, there actually is like a framework around this stuff, and that's good, and I can't remember Michael's last name, the lawyer guy, who's on the board. He's always been a really big advocate for this. I mean, the whole board is really good. So yeah, I think it's it's kind of settled into a steady state, and now this is a nice thing to come out of it. So definitely check out the 2.0 version if people are interested. And
cool.
I heard a rumor, but I did not see. Someone was asking if they were asking if anyone was going to talk about the fact that a certification had been revoked. I had not actually heard about that, but one has officially been revoked. I thought you'd like that. Sounds like that. Just the right amount of intrigue for you to be like, oh,
absolutely.
What's going on here?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So I didn't hear anything else about it though. So
right. Okay.
So right now it's just hearsay for me.
Okay. Well, I'm going to have to do some investigative journalism.
There we go. Dave the Googler.
Find out. I'll Google it. Yeah, that's my investigative journalism. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
Well, it's better than what most do.
That's it. That's actually, that's very true.
Yeah, it is very. Oh, goodness.
Yeah. So, that was good. And it got to me. So, like, honestly, I go to a lot of these conferences because I like
you're a
meeting people,
person.
and I definitely like that stuff. But also, to the benefit of the show, that's where I source a lot of potential guests from.
Yes. Yep.
So,
excellent.
Definitely, I got some. So, some good ones too. We'll have them coming up. So I'm excited about that.
Fantastic.
So yeah, I'm excited. But carried home a virus or two.
Well done.
Oh well. So then, because I was traveling, I was kind of out of it and didn't record an episode with a guest like I had planned to on the road, and instead got a bunch of consultants together last week, and that turned out really well. It seemed like some people like that. What that led to today, though, was discussing with Dave, one of the other guys that was on the show there, about IEEE. And you said, Dave, you also had some thoughts about joining the IEEE as a consultant.
No, I didn't say that. I mentioned I have something to say about the IEEE. I did say that. I didn't know you could join the IEEE as a consultant. What is this, like a different level? What is this? Is it... I thought there was honestly, just like member, senior member, the fellow. I thought they were just the levels.
Yeah, I think it's member, honestly. Yeah, right. I think you're right. I think it's targeted at consultants because it's like, it's the idea of like a network and...
Right. Oh, yes, because it is
that.
Very networky, people-feely kind of organisation.
Yeah, I think that's the idea, and they have like trainings and stuff like that. But
and they have talks.
What were your things that you wanted to say about this in general? I'm very curious now.
It's nothing bad. It's just that I've been like a member. I've been a member of the IEEE. Member in quote marks is like an official level. It's like it's sort of like the base level of the IEEE. I've been that way for like a decade or more. And I thought, well, I should probably like level up, shouldn't I? To like senior.
Yeah, you're probably going to senior discounts elsewhere, right, Dave?
I'll pay that.
Sorry, old jokes. I mean, this is just so lame. I know. Pay it. It's going to keep happening. He's not that much older than me, folks. Anyways, yeah.
I thought I'd become a senior member, and I had a look into it. This was like last month. I haven't done anything about it yet. But it's a convoluted process, apparently. You got to fill in all sorts of stuff. And I think you need... I think it might be like 3 other senior members to recommend you or something. So I don't know. I don't hang out with real people, right? So I
put up on the forum then. You're
this is hilarious. Someone who shall remain nameless said to me the other day. Like I said, I talk to people on the internet all the time, and this person went, "They're not real people." You don't talk to real people. So sorry, everyone out there, you're not real people, apparently.
Whatever. They're real people. They're just behind a screen.
Right.
It's just,
nerds,
Well, what are the things that happen when you become a senior? I don't quite get it. I should say I've never been a member. Right. Even like student days where I think it was like $30. I was like, $30? I got better things to do with $30.
Imagine how much beer I can buy with $30.
Yeah, exactly. I could stretch that for weeks. Yeah. So, what do you get out of it? I mean, like...
I had...
Anything?
Where you get access to the newsletter and stuff, and which is quite good.
Oh, okay.
And
all right.
I think you get access to like some of the online standards and stuff like that as well.
Okay.
So,
yeah, I was thinking about it today as I was thinking through this. I was like, I recall talking about this at some point in the show, and it was episode 3, Dave.
Episode 3.
It was 8 years ago. It was episode 3. We do not sound good. I think I was talking through a drum microphone at the time.
Right. Yep. I literally am still talking. I am talking through a drum microphone now. The Rode M5.
Yeah, but that's a good drum microphone.
It's a good drum mic. Okay.
Not so good. Yeah.
Got it.
And I think we were talking about meetings or something. I think we were talking about meeting in person. So everything old is new again.
Yep.
But the requirement to go to meetings and stuff like that, all of that stuff I don't really care about. But I would be interested to hear if people are members. Some people. I remember I talked to someone who was like a grad student or a postdoc or something like that, and they had mentioned like for some of the specialty subject stuff, you just can't really find that stuff elsewhere. So like I think it was like. Of course. Maybe someone with optics or something.
Oh, yeah, they've got all these different groups as well. You can join like these specific groups and you'll get their newsletter or their mailing list. You'll get invited to their talks. That's another thing. Like you get in, like, because it's all like a local chapter based. It's very American, sort of system.
Yeah, it almost seems like fraternal.
It's a fraternity type thing. The New South Wales chapter. Which is my local chapter. They all organise like local talks. They get experts in. I've been to a couple of them, and yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing. Like a lot of the stuff that is in there, I don't actually mind that much. Like going to hear people speak or going to meet other people.
Yeah,
That's
no,
all.
some of
That's
them
all
are good.
my wheelhouse.
The ones that, you know.
But yeah.
Yep. No, it's definitely worth joining. I'm a member.
Is it like the Masons of?
The
so
Masons, right? It involves goats and secret handshakes.
Yeah, of course. The secret. I can imagine you go to a meeting and the secret handshake is everybody's wearing a buzzer on their hand.
Right. Yeah.
You know those joke buzzers.
Yeah.
If you don't hit 120 volts, you're not a member. You know?
Right. Yeah. I actually there's a documentary on the Freemasons on Netflix, and I watched a good lot of it. I was bored, I was just flicking through Netflix, and there it is, and it was surprisingly open and boring, and
not nearly conspiratorial enough for your taste.
No, totally not.
Right,
so I was quite disappointed, and yep.
Yeah, speaking of conspiratorial, they figured out what's going on with that observatory. I don't know if you saw that article.
Yes, I did. I tweeted.
It was not good. It was bad.
I haven't read the article, but I heard when the news first broke, it's about child porn, right?
Yeah, so it was basically a contract janitor, and it's stupid, but they needed to shut down because they wanted to catch the guy, so
yeah,
I'm glad they did.
No, and they couldn't tell because there might have been other people involved. That's why they couldn't tell anyone.
Right.
Because they're usually in a secretive ring or whatever. So
creepy people being creepy.
Yep, and apparently he was bringing in his laptop. Not a very smart dude. He thought he was smart by not downloading the stuff at his own home. So he brought in his laptop into the thing, plugged into tapped into the Wi-Fi at the observatory and downloaded it all there and shared it all there. Geez, as if they're not going to,
right.
You work there, dude.
Right. Well, hopefully he's in jail for a very, very long time.
Anyway, yep.
Yeah. On to happier things.
Well, I'm very disappointed by that. Quite frankly, I wanted it to be.
You wanted aliens,
Yeah, I wanted aliens. I wanted the sun to be blowing up or something. I wanted something exciting.
Dave, I think I can say with certainty, someday the sun will blow up.
Thanks.
You're welcome. You'll be, part of the Google at that point, or whatever the digital future is.
Right. I'll be downloadable. You can download me as an avatar. Right. You can download.
Yeah.
Right.
It's kind of creepy to think that YouTubers and really just any digital footprint in the first place, it'll last a lot longer than we will.
Oh yeah. Probably.
People will be watching my BZR 4032 KiCad videos, long after I'm gone.
At what point did we reach where? I guess you could say it's the age of the internet, but not quite. At what point, what year did we, I'm sure we're already there, where pretty much everything online will now be saved for the future? Almost.
Oh, you mean
indefinitely.
The backups on backups kind of thing?
Backups on backups thing. It won't be lost now kind of thing. At what point did we reach that? Because all the stuff from... that was on television in the 80s or something, that hasn't been digitized and put online.
Physical tapes.
Yeah, physical tapes and stuff like that. It's it might be in some museum or someone's basement somewhere, but,
right. But does it really exist then?
Yeah, well, that's right. So it might be from 2000 onwards or, it might be 2010 onwards or something where people in 200 years' time that, can look for all this information instantly online through their retina-implanted thingamabobs, right?
Yeah.
Will, basically the world started existing in 2010, I guess,
Yeah, it makes you wonder, huh? I guess that's when the show started, too, so, we got that going for us.
Awesome. All right.
I was thinking about that because you said you usually do just Dropbox for revision control on PCBs and stuff like that, right?
Well, I don't. Well, it's there, but I've never had to use it. You
never had to do the backups, but I'm just saying that that's one of your systems, right?
Yes, right.
Yeah. So I was thinking about that because, so because it's one of those live update systems. Thinking about so now you're moving a trace from point A to point B, and you hit save, and the file updates, and then the change is usually a delta. But I think with binaries, I don't know if it can. Maybe it saves a whole file again, right? And
I think it does.
So you hit. Yeah, so you hit save, and let's just say it's a 10 megabyte file. So there is some small delta between the two, but to the system it's fine. But then 2 seconds later you hit save again. Does that mean that 10 megabyte file is like saved in perpetuity? So like is that some of the digital cruft that we'll take along with us until the end of the heat death of the universe?
99% of it's probably just duplicated crap.
I mean, it's just like changes and small stuff. Like I think about that for revision control, like how much data is out there just around small changes, you know? It's kind of crazy. But there's not going to be any way to clean it up, I don't think.
Right.
So
well, if you go into like your Altium backup directory or whatever, you know, your projects backup, there's just thousands of files. You know, every time, like if I'm copying stuff over, I'm just looking at all this. Oh my God, look at all these backup files. Like it used to, I don't know if it still does it with the latest version because I'm 1 or 2 behind, but like it just keeps saving. Every time you save a change, it creates a mirror image backup file. And you end up with thousands if you're a serial saver like I am, you know.
I am too. You know, I don't trust anything. You know, like you just hit Control Save every time you do something.
And you end up with
whatever.
thousands of backup files of your PCB in the backup subdirectory. And that takes up, I find, you know, when I'm like zipping something, when I'm zipping up a project, right, I find that most of the space is taken with all those backup files.
Right, because I mean, how big is a PCB file in the first place, right?
Yeah, it's megs, right?
Right.
Well, it's quite big. Like, you know, you work on any decent board.
For that stuff, yes. Some of the stuff I'm doing is not. So
it's just it's crazy. You know, I can end up with a couple of 100 meg of backup PCB files.
Right, and it's just no chance you're going to use that stuff.
No,
either. Like, why would you step it back 500 steps?
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy.
It's nuts.
Man, that is. I wonder if that. I don't even know if there would be a reason to fix that, but it's just kind of weird to think about, like. Works in progress as a significant portion of, you know, I'm sure that this is not relevant to a lot of, you know, to the digital future, right? There's gobs and gobs of storage regardless, but it's just kind of freaky to think about, like just the small changes being saved. So at some point, you know, in Alien Civilization, you know, they go and find your archive, right? And they're like, let's see how Dave laid out boards. let's see the decisions he made. It's like it's like archaeology for circuit board
alien
design.
nerds.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Oh dear. Anyway,
speaking of PCBs, I had some questions about that for your PCB expertise.
Right.
And I did find myself thinking that I was like, oh man, I wish Dave would have written that book like he was talking about. So maybe,
like I said,
we'll keep.
Anyway,
keep pushing you for it.
I don't even know what your question is. Well, but I know what the answer is. It depends.
Oh, okay. Well, that's boring.
Sorry, but that's usually legit. The answer. You know.
So I've got a decently sized PCB, probably 6-7 inches across.
Quantify, Chris.
Yeah.
Yes.
So 6 or 7 inches across.
Oh,
so that's
inches. Come on.
Sorry.
PCB's dimensions are in millimeters.
15 to 18 centimeters rather.
Oh, that's not big.
150 to. Well, I know it's not super big, but I'm just saying that So what it really is I think because of the scale. Like, so I'm doing it's got a QFN part on it, and so you're kind of like doing the fiddly bits of around the QFN to get all the vias dropped and the wires out, and then some of those traces are going all the way across the board.
Right.
And in some of these cases, they're going all the way across the board, and then they're plugging into a connector. Right, and it's just the connectors hanging out there, and it's doing this thing. And so I'm like kind of looking at it, and I'm like, you know, it's just a lot of dangling wires out there. And so I was wondering about what your general recommendation is when you do have longer runs of wire and best practices around. You know, they're not really stubs because they're going to be plugged into things. So you'd think that, you know, if they're properly terminated or whatever's on the other end of that plug should hopefully take care of it. But if you put anything in there, or if you do anything to help with signal integrity, I guess.
Well, this is a PCB layout. PCB design is 90% layout. So I'd be asking, why are you running them right across the board? Is there a reason? And usually, more
you're
often
saying,
than not, it's split
placement,
into
you're saying.
digit placement. Why are you
Right,
running
I
them
see.
right across the
Right.
board? Why do you have
so there is a bunch of
those
stuff in
connectors if
between.
you've got
Yeah.
right? So why? That's the first question.
Just because there's a lot of big stuff. So it's a lot of small wires hooking up to a lot of big connectors, like a range of big connectors. So think about this as almost like a breakout for a QFN micro that basically just kind of needs to have connectors all over the place. And so it's breaking out to multiple places.
Right, but why do they have to be on opposite sides of the board? Is it
that's a
an
good question.
input-output flow thing?
No,
Is
it's
it
just
like all
because
inputs
the
on one
stack up
side?
of the stackups of the multiple connectors requires that they just can't overlap. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So
Right,
it's just
okay.
it's just a
Right.
it's just
so that's the first part of that question.
That's a great question.
You
right.
try and minimize. You rethink. Well, why am I running traces right across the board? The last thing a PCB layout designer wants to do is have traces going right across the board because that screws your routing. That absolutely screws it up completely.
Oh, sure.
Yep.
Yeah, you're saying for like interference with other traces, and then also
it's just it just blocks your routing. It means that you've got to drop because usually you're going to be running traces all in one direction on one side and all in one direction on the other side, right?
Right.
That's generally how you're going to try and be running them. And but that's it doesn't always work like that. So you're running traces higgledy piggledy in the end when you're trying to get it all done.
Right. Yeah, you're saying especially if there's no rhyme or reason to it, right? If you're just throwing stuff down.
Yeah, so if you're splitting your board in two effectively by running those traces right across, that's bad design practice. You want to do everything humanly possible to minimize that as a first rule. But sometimes you can't.
I think I'm actually okay on that side of things. So some of these things are actually multiple connecting. I know this is tough to do without me actually saying what it is, but I can't really say. And so, like, this is connecting to multiple points on the board as well. So some of these traces are running and connecting to multiple things.
Okay, so it's a multi-drop thing.
Yeah, and I think that, like, from the actual organization, like, it's not. I've got all the layout done, and I think it's okay.
Okay.
And I'll be able to talk about it eventually, I think. So.
Okay.
But the general concern is that, like, so thinking about, like, interference and, like, these are big traces that are running along the board and thinking almost about...
Well, are they analog? Next question, analog or digital?
Yeah. Yes, they're both.
Oh, they're both, analog and digital. Well, don't run them side by side.
Okay,
if you're running them as a bus, right?
Yep.
If you're running them as a bus, because long lines equals crosstalk by way of mutual capacitance between them.
Right.
So often you'll separate, if you're going to do that, run a guard trace right between them.
Yep.
Right? That's what, you would run a third trace. So if you've got a digital line and an analog line side by side, you want to run right across the board and you want to keep them together because you do want to keep them together to minimize your overall board area loss in terms of routing space. Then you make a third trace that's a ground trace right between them. So then you've got the capacitance to ground, not capacitance coupling to the other thing. And on top of that...
Ground plane. Always have a ground plane.
No, that's the thing, right? You don't just run the ground trace because it's going to be, by nature of being a thin trace running right across the board, right? It's quite high in inductance, right? Because it's a long wire, effectively. So you want to be dropping vias at multiple points along there as well, just to keep that a low inductance ground to your ground plane. Right?
Yep.
So you don't just run one trace, I'm set, I've got a ground trace right between there and I'm running at 30 centimetres across my board. It's like, no, that's bad. You need to drop it down at multiple points.
That's good advice too. Yeah, you wouldn't want ground. Like to go back to the
No, you don't want to have to go right back to one side and then,
Right.
There may occasionally be reasons why you might want it to do that, but as a general rule, no. You want a nice solid straight down to your ground plane.
Yep. Yeah, and so it is a 4-layer board, and I think that helps too. So
it's pretty much mandatory when you start running huge, big traces across the board like this.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I guess I always just think about like so that some of these traces are going to be running like a decently high speed bus, 10 megahertz bus or something like that, and so thinking about like stubs and the usual reflections in the line, stuff like that.
But are they that quick that you'd have to worry about any of that?
No, I mean, probably not. But like again, I'm just kind of like looking at this and second guessing myself.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, right. I mean, and thinking about best practices around that stuff of well, what should I be doing? Should I be terminating? Should I be doing controlled impedance? Should I be doing, stuff like that? And maybe it's just not fast enough for that to even matter.
Well, you'd have to quantify that for us.
I mean, like I said, 10 megahertz and below probably.
Ah,
so,
10, right, no.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be anything like, it's not super high-speed bus and anything like that, but still, again, just second-guessing myself.
No, it's fine. She'll be right, mate. No worries.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. What do you, did you always have do you have like a go-to resource when you're second-guessing yourself? Or are you just kind of
not
doing
really.
that at this point in your career?
No.
Okay.
Nope. I've always been the PCB guy, so it's not like I can go to another PCB guy and,
I mean, you could, but I meant more of a book. If you had like a book or online resource thing like that.
Nope.
Got it. Okay. I've got a couple PCB books, but nothing I'd recommend.
Nothing you recommend.
I mean, like nothing that's like, oh, this is groundbreaking throughout the whole book.
Right? Yeah. Well, there's Howard Johnson's Handbook of Black Magic, and stuff like that, which has a lot of PCB, high speed PCB. But you're not there. You're not.
Right.
10 megahertz. Digital stuff running across the board is not there.
Right. Yeah, and I've so former guest of the show, Hank Zummelin. I always go back to his stuff whenever it's like ADC stuff. So that's about like splitting grounds and things like that. Because I used to always, so like when I was doing analog and digital stuff, I would always separate the grounds. And these days I've stopped doing that as much. And having like a single ground tie point. These days I usually do a single ground, make sure that all my parts are put in the right place so that they're not. That the ground returns aren't crossing through something else, and then I'll cut out some of that ground actually, so that the ground path doesn't allow like high speed noise to kind of bleed over. There's still a path, but it doesn't.
Well, you are separating your grounds by doing that.
Yeah, sure. I just mean that like they're not different nets, because that's also
right. Well,
usually that leads to like a single point of ground connection, and it's like that can be good, but I don't like that as much as I used to. So
yeah, it's that's one thing I had to do a lot was physically. Although they're the same ground, they're electrically the same ground. As you put a multimeter on them and you buzz it out, it's 0 ohms, right?
But from because that's your DMM is slowly connecting between the two, right? It's sending current through at some slow speed. Yeah.
So they're electrically connected, but on the schematic they have to be different nets, and then you actually have a part on your schematic which is like a shorting link. And then you like join the two ground, analog ground, digital ground, or digital 1 and digital 2, because sometimes it's not just analog and digital. It can be, separate digital ground planes or separate analog ground planes or whatnot. And it wouldn't be uncommon to have 4 or 5 different, separate grounds on one board.
Yeah.
And they're all tied back, but then you've got to put in the jumper, and then you put notes on your schematic saying, well, where's that going to be? But, that's sort of hard to explain. It's kind of, that's why it's better if the person who does the schematic lays out the board as well, because they just know what the hell they're doing, I
agree. That's just not always practical, right?
No, it's not always practical, but
yeah.
It's in an ideal world, that's what you want, so.
Yep. Yeah, well, cool. Thanks, man. That's good.
No
good reassurance.
She'll be right, mate. Is my
So actually, this actually kind of leads into the next point too. I want a place to ask people that stuff too, which is me being
EV Book Forum.
Yeah, some of that stuff. But I don't always want to ask on the big forum like that.
Why?
Yeah, some of that's good because sometimes it's more sensitive. You know what I mean? So like, how much can you really share there if it's? So, anyways,
so you want a bunch of private contracting people who are sworn to secrecy through your secret goat organization.
Yes, secret goat. Yes, you have to make secret goat noises. So anyways, I'm going to put, so I talked about this last week on the show too, of like, like the forum's good, but that's very open, the EV blog forum.
Yeah.
I'm going to figure out something. So I'm just going to set up, right now, I'm just going to set up a forum a form, FORM, not FORUM. So like just a Google Docs form. If people are interested, they could fill that out. Basically, the thinking is like needing a verified body. I guess I will act as that for now, and we'll see
Chris
if anybody
wants
does it.
a bunch of free consultants to
I don't want
check
free
his
consultants.
work.
I mean, here's the real thing. Yes, the checking work would be nice, but it's also like I'd love to have a group of people that like I could send work to. So like when I hear about something I can't do it, that's kind of what we talked about last week. It's like who do you call when you need a reference?
Who do you trust?
Right, exactly. And how do you build that trust? And it's like I think you build that trust through.
Oh, hang on, I have to do a Ghostbusters quote. Sometimes shit happens. Someone's got to deal with it. And who you going to call?
That's right, Dave.
Right.
Ghostbusters.
Sorry, I'm a fan.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's good. That's on my need to rewatch it stuff list. So, anyways, if people listened last week to the consulting episode, they'll probably if you haven't heard it, you can go back and listen to that too. So I will have a form if people want to fill that out. If not, it's okay too. And we'll take care to make sure your identities are secure.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
You want a secret squirrel club? All right.
I do.
Tick.
Yes.
Excellent.
So I think that's all of my stuff other than the Twitter stuff. So what else should we talk about today?
Oh, we've got a ton of stuff on the list.
There is a lot of stuff on the list.
The IEEE, once again, are holding a soldering world's best hand solderer contest championship.
The IPC thing?
Yeah, like, and two people will show up, It's like, I'm the best in the world, Yeah, okay. Pat on the back for you.
The best in hand soldering.
Good on you.
Yeah, that's a little bit weird, but I would go watch it, to be honest. This will probably be a little bit less, where is it at? January 29th. Oh. I'm guessing.
It's at the IPC Apex Expo.
I've never been to that
is that Asia Pacific? No, where is it? San Diego
I don't know.
Convention Center. There you go.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
Knock yourself out.
Yeah.
That'd be something to put on your resume. World's best hand solderer. World champion hand solderer. Actually, at the meetup the other day, these students I was talking to, can't remember which uni they were from, and they were like showing me their work. They were they actually pulled out their phone. They said, there's this soldering challenge, and look what I soldered with my TS100 soldering iron. I did these 0201 parts, and it's like, okay, great.
Then there's the misery edition as well. Yeah, it was like a little circular board, right?
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
That's
the one we did at. That's the one that they did at Tour Camp, and people were doing that with the really crappy. They were still voltage controlled, but they're really really bad soldering irons.
I think the whole idea was not the fact that you could solder that, right? Was the fact that you could do it with the crappiest iron possible.
Yeah.
Like, look, I did this with a cigarette lighter and a,
Right, exactly. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I think that was the intention behind the soldering challenge thing.
Right.
That they had.
Well, they did that at Tour Camp, where they also said, though, every two components you had to drink a beer in between.
Oh, right, okay.
And so by the end, it was loud. It was very loud at the end.
Right. Oh, dear.
Yeah. Yep.
Sad.
It was fun. No, it was funny. Yeah, that's a fun thing. There's also a misery edition where I think you do an 001, 005. That's the smallest one you have to do.
Right.
So it's like a little blinking at mega or at AT tiny on there, and then it just drives the blinky LEDs. So that's how you tell if you're working or not.
Got it.
So yeah.
Yeah, the chip's fried to buggery, but as long as it works.
Oh yeah. Don't zoom in on it. You don't want to see what that looks like. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
So.
Oh.
Yeah.
Have you been following the Hayabusa probe? The landing
is that the one that landed
asteroid?
on the asteroid? Right. I've seen the one where like the 5 video or the images came back, and they said it was a video, but it was very sparse.
That was probably right. Yes, like from the surface. On the surface, it was like
Yeah, right.
The camera on the surface, yeah. It took this video as the thing rotated, and you can see the sun go set on the asteroid. Yeah.
Yeah. So what about?
Yep.
I didn't. I mean, I saw that it was happening, but I didn't really pay much attention.
I did a live stream when it originally approached the and was supposed to go in, and it was as boring as bat poo, unfortunately. So I held this live show, and it was like nothing happened. So we ended up just talking politics for 2 hours on the live show.
Oh man!
And yeah, and it's not like a NASA Mars landing thing where it's like they didn't have an official live stream for it. There's just no meat. Like all they've got is a Twitter account which like updates once every couple of hours and said I'm 50 meters. Like last we heard, we're 50 meters from the from the asteroid. We're 50 meters from it, and we're waiting for the next tweet. And the next tweet doesn't come for like 6 hours. And it's like, ugh. So it was boring.
They're not doing their media thing very well.
Anyway, no, they don't. No, the Japanese, they're more secretive. If something goes wrong, I guess they don't want to be embarrassed, right? So they don't want to.
That makes sense.
Hang their balls out there on the chopping block for the world to, Yep.
I mean, that's a pretty big one. I mean, to
pretty big set of balls.
No, it's pretty tough to land on a. It's a pretty big accomplishment if you can do it,
Yeah, it's great.
And a pretty big failure if, you don't, I guess.
I want one of the shirts. I want one of the Shirtgate shirts. I should have got one at the time.
What does it say?
Shirtgate. You remember Shirtgate?
I don't, Dave. Sorry.
Oh, dude. What was the previous European Space Agency one that landed? The first one ever to land on an asteroid. Oh God. Now I'm embarrassed.
ESA or something? European Space Agency?
Anyway,
why would they call it Shirtgate though? That's such a dumb name.
Because everything's gate, right? Every time there's like something blows up, it's
sure.
It's something gate, as in goes back to Watergate, right?
Right.
And which is way before your time. And anyway, Matt Taylor, who is he was like the head community outreach scientist for this group that landed, the first one ever to land on an asteroid. Like their probe caught up with that astronaut, they landed on it. And anyway, he was, they're all celebrating and everything, and he's the one on camera, like, talking to the, the media and everything about it. And he wore this shirt that had scantily clad animated women on it, right? Scantily clad characters and all that. And of course,
poor taste either way.
Whatever, Anyway, it was fine. It's not like they were, it wasn't nudity or anything. Anyway, all these scantily clad, it was very, and he's all heavily tattooed. He's even got a tattoo of the lander on him, on his leg, and like really cool guy, right? And
yes, Dave, really cool guy. Yes,
yeah, absolutely, he's cool. Anyway, he's one of the project scientists, and he landed on an asteroid, and there was this big article in The Verge or some other ridiculous, online thing that said, "I don't care that you landed on an asteroid. Your shirt is sexist," and then the whole internet blew up. Right, and anyway, it was a huge deal at the time. I can't believe you didn't hear about it. Shirtgate.
It's almost like it doesn't matter at all compared to the science that happened. But I guess I didn't hear about the science that happened either. So
anyway, it was great, And so I wanted to, and now it's just land on an asteroid again. Been done.
It's crazy. That is that's the world we live in. Yeah.
Like this thing's hurtling through space at 300,000 kilometers an hour or something, and they catch up with it and orbit it. It's only, these things are only tiny. They're only like 500 meters across. Something like that.
The asteroids are. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're tiny, and they catch up with it at a couple 100,000 kilometers an hour, and then orbit it and then land on it. And anyway, this Hayabusa 2 probe, the original mission Hayabusa 1 didn't succeed. Like it failed. It had issues. Anyway, this new one, it's like they've got like 5 different landers. Like this is the second time it's landed, and they've got these little like 30-centimeter round things that hop on the surface. These little things, and it's a sample return mission as well. So now it's going back in, I believe.
Oh, wow.
It's got another lander that's now doing scientific analysis on the surface, and then it's going to scoop up some of the asteroid and actually send it back to Earth. It's fantastic. So it's got like the margin for error on this thing was, incredibly small. You multiply the number of different landers you've got. It's like a little, mothership kind of thing. Like it goes in and then deploys all these multiple landers. It's just incredible.
Yeah, that's super cool.
They really went for broke. It's not like, we're going to have one lander. That's hard enough,
Right,
but no, we're going to have like 4 of them.
That's awesome.
Anyway, it's crazy. Yeah, it's awesome.
So how do we get a hold of one of those people? We need to, find one of those scientists,
Well, we'd have to speak Japanese, I guess, to begin with. Because, there's not much. Like, they do have their Twitter feed and stuff. There was a live. They actually had a live feed, which I didn't see, probably because I was sleeping. But, yeah. So, yeah, there we go. We've got shots of the control room. Oh, there's a press conference. Yeah, it's got translations and stuff, yeah. It's got a translator and stuff like that. So,
got it.
Yep, I'm sure if we wanted to get somebody from that team, we'd probably have to speak Japanese.
Okay,
but, yeah. Anyway, it's very cool.
I'll start learning too. We'll be cool.
Yeah,
we'll be cool.
It's very cool. But there's, there's tiny little antlers, what is it? Or is it 15 centimeters across? It's absolutely tiny, and it has these little, and it just hops. It's got these little legs, and it just has a little gyrator in it, and it just spins that up, and that makes it hop from one location to the next. It's great.
Cool. Yeah, it sounds like biomimicry almost, where it's trying to be like a frog or something similar.
Right? It's doing something, like that, and you don't need much force at all. If that motor spins up too fast, it reaches escape velocity, and the thing just
right.
jumps off the surface.
You're still in space, pretty much, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There's very little gravity holding that thing in. I don't know about this one, but the original one, the Shirtgate one, it actually had an explosive bolt and hook that when it touched down on the surface, it'd fire these explosive bolts and these tethers that would then hold it to the surface because the gravity was so small that it was so difficult to just hold it there just through, you couldn't just land. And, because if you hit it, even at 0.1 mile an hour or something, if you hit it, it'd just bounce back off the surface and then bounce back into space. It was that crazy. Little gravity. It's just insane.
Almost
so
sounds
anyway,
like
I love the technology.
A little tiny drone, but not really a drone,
Well, yeah. Anyway, I think
obviously you're not going to use rotors in space, that kind of thing, but yeah.
Yeah, they use gyrators. If people don't know how they orbit satellites, and they don't use rocket vector thrusters, they actually use gyroscopic wheels and they spin them up, and the inertia of the wheel makes the satellite spin. So that's how they do it. So, yep, very cool. Did you read? Oh, was it? It was on one of the YouTubers. Was it? No, it wasn't Astrum. It was maybe it was Scott. It was Scott Manley. Scott Manley. So if you look for his video, he often does space stuff. He's a big YouTuber and just talks about space stuff. And he was talking about how all these gyroscopic wheels in these satellites were failing. They sent up a whole bunch of satellites, and they all started a year later or something. They all started to all the wheels in them started to gum up and stick and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
And so they investigated, and don't quote me, I'd have to watch it again. But what they discovered was the problem in these gyroscopic wheels and why they were all failing is that the cosmic rays were hitting the internal, was it ceramic bearings or something, or some hitting the bearings or something, and that was due to the composition of the material used in them. It was making these little micro cracks or something in the bearings or something like this, and it would it would get slower and slower until they actually jammed up, until all these bearings jammed up in space, and they figured out what was causing it. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, That's crazy.
You know,
I mean, like, material science stuff they do. And,
yeah, like who would have thought that? I believe it's cosmic rays. That cosmic rays would cause. You talk about cosmic rays and semiconductors and how you have to radiation harden your chips and stuff like that because it flips bits. If it goes in and hits a small memory array, you can start flipping bits in your memory, and then your stuff crashes.
Of course, right.
All that sort of stuff. We've talked about that several times, I'm sure. But
yes,
who would have thought that it would apply to mechanical bearings that rotate the spacecraft? It's like, yeah, absolutely fascinating. So I'll try and get a link to that, and we'll link that one
great.
in. Yeah,
That'd be great.
Anyway, very cool. Are you going to go watch First Man?
No.
No, you didn't. You just don't care about space, do you?
I mean, I do, but like, I don't know.
Not
don't
really.
watch as many things anymore, so that's the other thing. Yeah,
that's all right. You don't have to care. It's okay, Chris.
I mean, I do care. It's just that there's a lot of things out there.
Right. There's a lot of more interesting things to care about, like meetups and stuff.
Yeah, people are interesting.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. Also interesting. So, and kind of one of the reasons I was asking about drones is that there was this really interesting video from a drone battery factory. Have you ever seen how batteries are made?
I've kind of seen bits and pieces here and there. Why would it be a drone battery company? Why wouldn't it just be a battery company?
You mean like versus just like a regular battery?
Yeah, I don't know why they'd make... You said it's a drone battery company. That doesn't make sense to me. A battery company makes sense. A drone battery company doesn't.
The answer is it is just a battery company, but the real problem is that the guy who recorded it is a drone YouTube
a
channel.
drone, right. Okay.
Yeah, so when you're a drone enthusiast, a battery factory becomes a drone battery factory.
Drone battery factory, right.
Right. A capacitor factory becomes a drone capacitor factory.
Factory, right.
Yeah.
Got it.
So that's why. But yeah, I had never really seen how these things were made. I mean, like the stacking
is this
up
on the list? Or is
it
this...
is. It's called Inside the Drone Battery Factory. 8 days ago from today. And it basically, like the different processes they have, basically they're kind of making these stamp out, and especially because they have different custom shapes. That was what was interesting to me as well, is like, it's not really standard sizes, so they basically do these aluminum stack ups. I assume that it's probably what, like metal and ceramic in between. But then they basically make these individual like pads, and they've got two terminals on them. They tin the terminals, and they're like these thin sheets that they then compress together. Yeah. And then the pads on the end, they then like basically fuse together as well. So
yes, because battery efficiency is not the word. Battery capacity is all about surface area. Just like a capacitor, and so that's why you have to have hundreds of layers in there, just like multi-layer ceramic capacitors. That's their name, MLCCs, multi-layer, because they have to be multi-layer to get the capacitance. Same thing with battery. You've got to have the metal layer, you've got to have the electrolyte material, and you've got to have a ton of surface area and repeat over and over, parallel all those. So
yeah, I guess I just never really thought of the actual manufacturing process, and like the fact that there's so many people in the loop too. It's also very interesting. Like, obviously, this is being made by, these are bespoke batteries pretty much in higher volume, and just they have a lot of custom machines that they're using. So anyways, it's a fascinating tour. So I highly recommend people check that out. The thing that I'm always reminded of is that, like, even with like lots of interesting automation, lots of machine tools, lots of interesting things that are happening there, like at the end of the day, but by the end of the video, you're like, oh yeah, I've seen this stuff before, right? You're saying that pretty much about the same thing that you've just seen, that you've been watching the video of, and it's like manufacturing quickly, even though it's very interesting at the beginning, it quickly becomes monotonous and similar over time, and it's tough, right? Because that's when the hard work, once the interesting stuff stops, it's like you need to figure out how to improve the efficiency 3% in a manufacturing setup versus like, ooh, more robots, more, how do we put in a new robot here? It's like, well, no, that's probably not as important as like, how do you get higher throughput in a vacuum system or whatever the problem is. So
yep.
Yeah.
No, but it's very cool, yeah. And they're all like these custom machines. Everything's custom made to,
Yep.
Do these particular
It's all a lot of
types
80-20 extrusion type stuff. And each thing you're doing, you're basically having a machine builder come in and you're like, all right, well, we need it to press down here. It's like, okay, we can do that. Here's the linear actuator. Here's the thing. It's just that's how factories are made.
But they manually stack the sheets. They manually stack the sheets to form the battery. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm just watching it now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez, there's a lot of hand operations.
And then the electrolytic isn't actually inserted to the so again, that's I've looked at battery chemistries before. I've looked at how this stuff is on paper, and I've obviously held these things in my hand, but I've just never considered how you would actually go about making one. And the fact that the electrolytic doesn't go in till the end, it's like, okay, that makes sense, I guess. But I didn't really know what was in there either. So,
right.
And this is only one way to do it too. There's different types of manufacturing.
Everyone has their own secret sauce.
Yeah, right.
So that's why there's crap China batteries and there's good China batteries. Like this, top brand ones are better. Like the variability. Does he show the testing? Is there like the nail test?
Yep. Not the nail test, but there's
not the nail. No.
There's charging, so they charge every battery, so that kind of stuff, pre-charge and.
Oh, got it. Right.
Yeah, I was talking to someone at a large consumer electronics company, and they said you would be surprised how often custom batteries become a thing.
Oh yeah,
because especially when you have industrial designers who want to make this sleek looking thing, right? You only have millimeters, if that, of space, and it's you just got to fit as much battery as you can into that space. And if that space is an S shape, you're getting an S shaped battery because that's all you have available to you. It. And you're also doing computational fluid dynamics to make sure that the heat is getting out of the processor or whatever it is, right? And it's just stuff that I've never really considered before because. Why would you have a custom battery in most scenarios? And it's when you're making millions of something, you can do whatever you want. Right?
That's it.
I mean, not whatever you want, but because the investment up front is because either way you're tooling up for lots and lots of units. That's always surprising to me when people say oh, well, we'll just make something custom. I'm like, why would you do that? That's so expensive. They're like, well, not if you're doing it either way, So.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the video, from a guy who comes from a test engineering background. I'm just checking out the the huge test rigs they got. Absolutely, it's just insane.
The racks and racks of equipment to charge it and test it.
Yep. I want to know what their contingency is because statistically, you're going to have one catch on fire, right? It's just sooner or later. What do you do?
Right. Yeah, I mean, you must just have shutdown zones and evacuation procedures and stuff like that. Yeah. And you probably don't have the sound on, but they have drills where they're basically going to take breaks and they all kind of get up and walk around and inspect the factory and stuff like that, every 20, 30 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, because it's an inherently dangerous factory. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So,
the other thing too is these shows obviously in China, a lot of the employers provide housing for their workers.
Oh, right. Okay.
The battery factory is right next to the dorms. It's okay.
Jeez,
I wouldn't feel great about that.
That's your life. Yeah, you go from one building to the next.
So I wish them the best. I hope they're very safe about that stuff. But yeah.
Wow.
So anyways, I love those kind of videos. If people have other suggestions, please post them in the subreddit. I love factory tours, stuff like that. Because like I said, it becomes drudgery after, a couple minutes in a factory.
Yep.
But at the beginning, oh my God, I want to see how that stuff's made. That's always interesting.
Oh, they've got a corporate kitchen, the big corporate kitchen where everyone. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
No, the factories I've been to in China, they've had to. No, they weren't this big. You had to go out and fend for yourself at lunchtime. You had to go down to local markets, and it was dodgy as.
Yeah.
I've got a factory tour coming up.
Oh yeah, where at?
I don't know if I told you. Yeah, Rode.
Oh, nice. Is that in Australia?
Yes, Rode's here in Sydney. They're designed and manufactured here in Sydney. I was going to go earlier, but they said that they're installing this new, world-class injection molding system or something. So, the place is a bit hectic at the moment. So please wait until they finish that. So I'm waiting. So probably, sometime this month, I guess. Yep.
Nice.
Should
That's
be
great.
finished,
So, like,
and
that's
I can
another
go
thing
in
where,
there.
like,
Think of me.
I think about making microphones. Like
Yep.
I know how some microphone types are made. Like
Yep.
they're effectively capacitors that are modulated by air pressure, and some of them are like that's condenser. Isn't that what that is, right?
Yep.
But again, like I don't know what you do to like you tell me right now. What do you go make this thing? I'd be like, all right, well I guess I'll make a capacitor to start with. Like,
Right.
and then but yeah. And so a lot of that is it's that secret sauce or that tribal knowledge. It's over time.
Exactly, but Rode don't just make microphones. I mean, I'm using a Rode audio interface here, so all their PCBs are all assembled here, all their cases and everything. Like I believe everything's done here.
You know what that says to me, Dave?
So, what?
That audio stuff has a significant margin. If it's being made in Sydney, it has a significant margin.
Probably.
Yeah, but I mean, like they do. They have a good brand. They make quality products too.
They're one of the world's
nothing
top
against
brands.
them. So
yeah. No,
yeah.
exactly. Rode are one of the top brands, and you pay a bit of a premium for them, but
they get knocked off right away too.
Not astronomical.
Right.
So
it'll be interesting to if you don't mind me throwing you a couple questions there. I'd be interested to know what percentage of stuff is made in house versus out of house, right? Because
yep.
I give
I'm sure
the benefit
there's some
of the doubt.
stuff that's going to
exactly
make
like
things
the
out of house.
the intro stuff. Like, why would you possibly make that in Australia? You would, basically you just white label stuff. You do quality control on it, but like you basically you find a good supplier, you white label their stuff, and you say,
do they make their own cables in house? Like I just got one of the Rode lapel microphones, and it's got and it's this super ultra thin cable, but it's got like Kevlar windings in it, and like
like
I
carbon
want to
fiber.
know,
It's like kind of.
So you can strangle someone with it, and
great.
with this tiny little
Note to self,
less
don't
than
record next to
millimeter
Dave.
diameter. Well, I actually tweeted a photo of the warning in the box: don't put it around your neck.
Oh,
because you'll strangle, because you'll literally kill yourself. Yeah, because it's Kevlar. Shh.
Right.
And I'm just like, one of my questions would be like, do you actually make this cable in house? Do you have a cable making line? Stuff like that, right? It's like, how much is done there? So and they've got so many products. I'd have to, go through their entire catalog of all their products and to find out.
That's great though. I'm looking forward to seeing that stuff. So they're gonna let you film and everything too.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So, I don't know how much, that they might.
Yeah, but even something
I might
would be good.
I might get there, and they go, no. So
right.
I don't know
please
how
come into our
open they're going to
showroom,
be.
Mr. Jones. Right.
Anyway, they seem quite excited to have me. But whether or not somebody higher up's gonna put
Squash
the foot
it.
down when I actually get there, I don't know. So we'll find out.
So, that's cool.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yes.
Before we step away from batteries, I'm going to send you a tweet about the safety of batteries. I just sent you the link for it.
Just what I wanted.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh yeah.
Did you see this one?
I saw that. I retweeted it. It's hilarious.
Yeah. Basically, someone was buying a battery from China, and you're not supposed to ship batteries from.
Not
I don't know
supposed
how
to ship.
shipping works.
Yes, you're not supposed to ship lithium batteries by air or whatever. Or you have to.
Right.
It has to go on a special charter flight.
Right. Right. So this one instead had a bunch of resistors shrink wrapped around it, and it says, "Dear buyer, please you open it. Battery is in it because China is difficult to slip in." Or something like that.
And China is difficult to ship a battery, so I have to use resistors to pack it. It is safe to use resistors for packing. Thanks for your understanding. And it's literally a battery wrapped in resistors.
It's just wrapped in resistors. Oh, it's so good. I mean,
gold.
like you gotta give them some points for ingenuity, but safety probably a 0. I'm gonna maybe say -4. Yeah.
Because if people don't know, a lot of stuff travels on commercial flights. Every time you take a commercial flight,
like you'd say the cargo hold.
The cargo hold is half full of cheap shit from China.
Or is it half empty?
Or is it half empty? Yes. No one knows.
Yes.
Makes a difference for the fuel calculations.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's true. The pilot knows.
I'm sure the pilot must know, yeah.
Right.
But yeah, like, and that was one of the reasons that they say, like theorized may have brought down several flights that they haven't, discovered the problem on, is that they had, look at the manifest. They actually had, a ton of lithium batteries in the hold of that commercial flight, right? And it's like, if one of them shorts and,
Yeah, I was just flying with a bunch of batteries because of my camera gear, and they like make you take them out and like, carry them with you. And they're like, they have to go in the cabin. I'm like, I don't want that shit in here with me.
Yeah, I know, right?
I guess you could put them out or do something.
Yeah, you can deal with the fire if it happens in the cabin, I guess. But yeah. But but if you don't know, they actually do have explosion and fireproof containers that they put them in the hold. So in theory, if something explodes or catches fire in a bag in the luggage compartment, it's self-contained and should only destroy that.
Yeah.
Thing,
you figure if you like vacuum sealed
lucky.
it, right, you're not going to get more oxygen, right? You need oxygen for this, right? It's still an oxygen related. Yeah, it is fire, so it needs oxygen, right?
Some of them do. Others, there's enough internal to fuel the chemical fire.
Got it.
Yep.
Chemical fires. Great.
Or whatever, don't quote me. I'm no expert in that field.
Yeah.
Story of our life.
Speaking of cheap stuff from China, one of our favorite topics, and I saw you had written about, actually you were very nice. You said, you mentioned my name when you were talking about the Neoden. I saw you were talking to them at Electronics.
Oh, did I mention your name?
I think so, at some point.
Oh, okay. In what way did I mention your name?
I think you said Mr. Gamble in the USA is using one of these something like that.
I remember that. That's right. Yeah. That's right.
But there's an interesting one. So this was also at the Open Hardware Summit because Nate from SparkFun's been using this thing, and then Colin from who I was visiting up in Canada also has one of these things, the CHMT36VA. Basically, it's
What is it?
It's a pick and place. So it's a tabletop pick and place. Here, I'll send you the link.
Tell me the number again. CHMT.
36VA.
36VA. It pops up in Google straight away. Right.
Yeah. So basically,
AliExpress.
Yeah. So
this
it's
is similar to the. This is just like the. This is just another version of the. What is it? The 3005 or 2005 or whatever it is. Okay.
Well, I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah. People have been talking about. Yeah, it's just another version.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same form factor. Yep.
Got it.
All the cheap pick and place.
I saw it in person, and it was pretty.
Yeah.
Pretty decent. Like the hardware looks nice. It was just basically the software was kind of crap.
Does it have vision?
It does. Yeah, it has up and down.
Right. Okay.
And for $2,800, it's like pretty cheap.
Yeah.
And so the thing is though that OpenPNP
$3,500.
What, Australian dollars?
No,
Aussie?
Yankee bucks.
Aussie kroners?
Yankee bucks.
Canadian donar?
So that's
Dinar?
about 5,000 Australian.
Okay.
So yeah.
Well, I heard it was $2,800. Maybe it's maybe it's gone up actually because of the tariff. Well, the tariff wouldn't matter for you though.
Yeah,
but,
I don't know. No.
That's bugging me. DigiKey and other places are now mentioning they're like tariff applied, and it's like,
yes,
look, I know it's a thing and I hate it, but you don't need to remind me of it. Just like pretend the prices are higher. They're like, it's not us.
Yeah.
I mean, it's even nice that they're taking care of it, like that it's on that side of things, right? Like, I assume that otherwise I'd have to pay it through.
So it happened that quick. I'm surprised
customs.
it happened. Like, I heard the announcement they're going to have tariffs, and next thing you know, it's like next month. Like, DigiKey and Mouser have changed their website.
In July, it was like pending, and I think it was because as the new stuff came in, so as old stuff went out of stock, like basically stuff they bought, they only passed through the tariffs on the stuff that they buy. So like they had something pending delivery.
I don't know how things happen that quickly though with government.
Well, the thing is, there's money involved,
laws
Dave.
And stuff like that. Yeah, but how does like legislation change that quickly? I thought it was a long,
I don't think
laborious...
that was legislation. I think that was actually just a dictum. So that's why.
Yeah, but
this wasn't like legislative. It didn't go through Congress.
Then how is it in effect in law?
I don't know the ins and outs of the legal system either. I just know that there is a tariff now, and I think think El Presidente is allowed to levy tariffs, and yeah,
Sounds, I don't know.
sounds stupid. Yes, I agree.
Sounds
I
dodgy.
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, it's tiny pick and place machines. Yeah, like meh, you know. Yeah.
I just think it's interesting because basically they cracked the firmware on it, and now they're trying to open up the ecosystem with OpenPNP software.
Okay, right.
So that's kind of the interesting
Okay.
thing to me. So, and Nate was given a talk about that too.
Why? Because the software that comes with it is crap. Is that the
Oh yeah.
right? Oh, okay, right,
Yeah.
right. So the hardware works okay.
Yeah,
and
it's the thing. I mean, it's it's a bunch of ball screws and like probably stepper motors and whatever's there. But then you need to have a driver board and you need to have some hardware there. And basically, this is a value add on top of it. And it's like,
Right.
so the hardware maker doesn't lose anything. In fact, they're probably going to sell more units, to be honest. And and now if it is an open project then and more people buy it, that's kind of cool.
right.
I know I struggle with the Neoden software, so I wouldn't mind if that
Okay.
stuff went open as well. And like I said, it's it's good. It is good hardware. It's a well built machine, from what I can tell. So it scares the bejesus out of me
It
sometimes.
still doesn't change the value equation.
No, of course. Yeah,
No.
you're totally right about that.
Yeah.
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 The reason,
People think that this is going to be a magical thing that solves all their problems. No. You know.
I mean, the thing I think about is like, so I remember I did like my LEDs for one of my boards on there, and it was like a ton of LEDs, and that was fine. It was all the same part. But like then it went to the point where I had to, I was like, oh, I should also put like the boost converter I have that's on there, right? It's a little, it's just like a SOT 23-5 or something like that.
Yeah.
It was something small and simple, whatever. I was like, I only bought 10 of those because that was $20, right? They're $2. And it's like, I'm not buying a reel of components. So unless you're at the
Right, yeah,
stage
of
where
course.
you're buying thousands and thousands of
That's
dollars
why
of
you buy
components.
digi reels and mouser reels that they
Yeah, I
only
know all that
have
stuff,
10
but, like-
parts on there, but then they have
Yeah.
a leader tape, but then the machine ends up just wasting half of them anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, unless you're good at that stuff, you got to really be careful. It really can add up. And,
Yeah, and then you end up hand soldering them anyway. Yeah, though you
exactly.
can
And so at that point, like,
salvage
it was
the
easier for
parts.
me to, like, so I
Yeah.
still stenciled it on. I did all the LED
Yep.
stuff that I wanted to do. And then, board came out of the pick and place,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a couple of, spots open with had solder paste on them. And I'm like, oh, hand placed, right? And, like, that's better, but it's still not a reason to get a pick and place.
Well, there
So-
are several online places now that will actually make your prototype boards for you. Not only like you send
Yeah.
them, not only your Gerber files, they'll make your bare boards, but you send them your DigiKey parts list and you send them your pick and place information. And they won't pick and place it; they'll just hand solder it, right?
Sure.
And bingo, a finished board comes back for like $100.
Yeah, that's great.
Right?
I think
And
that's
it's just like-
that's totally the way to do it, right? It's like
Yeah.
it's basically
Why
like
would
hiring an
you-
intern, but it's through a website,
Right. Yeah.
And they probably are doing that all day long, so they're actually good at it instead of an intern.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they're very efficient. Yeah.
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 So yeah, no, I think that's great. I think it's great. And like you talk to anyone in like living in Shenzhen, they're like, yeah, I just like Akiba talked about that a bunch. Like, yeah, I just get someone to hand play stuff. It's great.
Yeah.
So
No, exactly. Yep. Oh,
Right, so-
did you see my tweet the other day? $2.
oh, I did see that.
$2 for
I
10
know.
PCBs.
I know, and $20 in shipping.
Yeah, but I sprung for the
For
courier
the fast
shipping.
stuff. I see.
I could have got it cheaper, but I paid $20 to get the.
Yeah, I think all this stuff is
DHL
like
shipping.
this is what again
In
what
2
people are talking
days.
about in Shenzhen. Like this is the same thing you could get over there. It's just that now the systems are optimized enough that those costs are just passing through instead of stacking up on top of it. So yeah.
Unbelievable. Like
It's crazy.
It's just
Did you
Yeah.
watch that? We probably I know we talked about it on the show. I think you and I talked about it, but it was when Scotty from Strange Parts did.
oh
it
yes,
was the JLC.
went through JLC. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I
do you
haven't
think
watched. I still
happens-
haven't watched the whole thing.
Oh, it was good. I mean, like it was a
Yeah.
little. It was. I mean, obviously they invited him there, and it was sponsor video, whatever. But it was still a good look. It was like an inside look at a factory, so that was interesting. Mm-hmm. What do you think happens to all those films that they use for exposure?
Oh, they do well. Most places they will keep them just in case you do the repeat order and you won't pay the tooling charge again. That's how a professional, a professional
Let's just say
PCB
high-end.
place does it.
High-end
Well, no,
PCB.
a non-pro. That's how a non-prototype
Oh,
PCB
got it,
house
right.
does it. Right? They will keep all their films. Right?
Yeah.
So that, because that...
I was just wondering, obviously, like, a lot of those are, they're not going to be used again. But, like, you think they get recycled?
No, at a prototype house they won't be, but at a production house, right?
Yes.
Because the world has changed, right? Look, 15 years ago, there were very few prototype PCB
Right, getting a
places.
quick turn, getting a $2 PCB set of PCBs is ridiculous.
No, it was unheard of. It was like $800 to get one board, right? Because you got it done at a production house, and they had to, and getting the films made was very expensive. Photographic presses. Now they got these, laser printer things, and they just print out the film, like it's nothing, like on a sheet of paper, But yeah, no, it used to be a very expensive process, and they'd keep their films because that was a large part of the tooling cost was the
really?
film.
Okay.
Yeah, that was most of it. And so they'd keep them just in case you do your repeat order. So yeah. Or they had a policy of like keeping them for like 2 years or something, and then they'd dispose of them.
Yeah.
So they
Right,
would
because
they would
if you
often
are
tell
doing
you
repeat
that.
orders, right? If
Yeah.
you're doing thousands of boards at a time, why wouldn't you reuse this? Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But
yeah, so if
I
you
just wonder
don't,
what
so if
happens
you,
to the prototype ones. That's what's weird to
the
me.
prototype ones are probably gone. Yeah.
But I mean, are they? That's what I'm not asking.
So, in fact, they must have to throw them out. They have to
because they're cataloging them otherwise.
No, because there's multiple. The only reason you can get your 10 boards for $2 is because you share a panel space with 100 other customers, right? And they're not going to redo that panel with 100 other customers if you just order your one. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't work like that. So there's no reason at all to keep them. They would dispose of them totally, every time. Yep, I guarantee it, guaranteed. Because there's no reason, like unless you had the 100 same customers or multiple customers come back that just so happen to share that random panel at the same time, it just doesn't happen. Right? They're not going to reprint that one panel for you with 199 other customers just so you can get your one board again. They will simply redo your board. They'll remask your board and put it on a new panel, on new artwork film. If you happen to reorder that board, yeah.
But I'm asking, do you think they throw them out, or do you think they recycle them? That's actually what I was asking.
It's China, I'm sure they throw them out. No, they do have, in some provinces, they have strict laws for recycling and stuff like that, but I don't know. Don't know.
Of all the things that I wanted to see in that tour, that was one of the things.
Yeah, right.
Oh well.
Well,
I have to ask Scotty to go back.
Too bad.
Yeah.
I heard a few complaints about that video. A lot of people didn't like it.
I mean, it's the internet, Dave.
Yeah, I know. Yep. I'm sure there'll be complaints about my tour of the Road Factory.
I was going to say, there'll be complaints about the show even, there's always complaints, so
yep.
It's okay. You do the best you can.
Anyway, our amp hour is up, well and truly.
It's way up, yeah.
So I do want a yay or nay. Should I go for the senior, just because I can level up, should I go for the senior IEEE thing?
I think you should, and then you should lord it over people. Be like, when people approach you and they say, "Oh, you're Dave Jones," you're like, "Excuse me, I'm Dave Jones, senior IEEE member." So I know your emails like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Should I do it for kicks? Because they do give you, the official letters that you can use after your name.
Oh, there you go.
Wank, wank.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Yep. So for extra wankery, should I go for the senior IEEE thing? And if I do, I do believe I need
I think you got to get a tattoo at that point.
Three other senior members.
You said tattoos are cool, Dave. So
All right.
So senior member.
Oh dear.
I say yes. We'll let the listeners weigh in.
Right. Well,
let Dave know in the comment section.
I'll need some people to vouch for me.
Got it.
So
okay. I'm sure we can get a couple. All right, buddy. Well, there's a couple of links that we didn't get to, but I'm sure that people can go and find them on our subreddit. We also tweet all the time, and we also tweet from the Empower subreddit. So if you want to see that stuff, you can see that stuff too.
You're still not Facebooking?
I do that for personal stuff. I don't do it for, and even then, not a fan of it.
You don't Instagram? I do
Instagram, but mostly when I travel. What about you? Yeah,
Right,
I guess you
it's
do.
personal
You
crap.
do. You do.
No, I
photos.
don't. No, I used to Instagram. I don't do it anymore. Gave
Got
up.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just
Twitter
stupid.
and Reddit and email, I suppose. All right, man.
Cool.
We'll talk to you soon.
Catch you next time.